Welcome to episode 259 of the Whatnauts Review Show, where every week we pick a story and we talk about it. This could be a movie, TV show, anime, manga, comic book, audio drama, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, listen to it, and then we come back here and we talk about it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined, as always, by Kyle Springer.
Melissa, you nailed it. You nailed the intro.
The intro I have said, we rotate, so half of 259 times.
So, I mean, we're doing a new thing where I'm trying to play like the intro song of the video live on stream while we do this. If you did not know, you can get access to a live stream of this if you're a Patreon member. But I hit the button and it does not play the video for you, Melissa, but you can hear the sound, and you heard it and you nailed it. So good job.
Heard and reacted to sound.
Yes. Melissa, a live human being. See her react to sound in real time.
Ask her to add 2 + 2 and she'll clomp her hoof and she'll tell you it's 4.
There you go. How's your weekend been, Melissa?
It's good. I had a double feature at the movies yesterday.
Ooh.
Self-created double feature.
What'd you go
Jack
see?
and I went out to see Past Lives. And then we had a nice lunch and walked around the fancy mall in town. And then we went to go see Asteroid City.
Perfect. I went to go see Asteroid City yesterday, too. It was a blast. Yeah, we only saw that one, though. We didn't make it a double feature. But we also now officially have our Barbie tickets. My partner and I were going Friday morning because we took that day off so that we can go see that and then also go see Oppenheimer in IMAX. So we're stoked. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we're doing that on Friday. We're doing it the other way. We're starting with Oppenheimer and then going to Barbie.
I gotcha.
The debate of our times.
Right? Yeah. Who comes first? Barbie or Oppenheimer? Which one will bomb? Yeah. So it's been a good weekend. We've continued our Mission Impossible rewatch as well.
Yeah.
We just watched Ghost Protocol yesterday as well. So I guess it kind of was a double feature for us too. Then it was also really funny because my partner, like, we've been watching those Mission Impossible movies, but everything clicked into place for her yesterday, where she truly realized that Tom Cruise is the one doing all of these stunts, and like I've told her that, she knows that, but she's also like never really seen like what's the big deal with these Mission Impossible movies, why do people like Tom Cruise so much? And then I happen to like mention again like, oh yeah, he's the one doing all of these stunts, and then we get to that scene where he's climbing the Burj Khalifa, and she is the most tense I have ever seen her, and like she's like, I get it now, this is awesome.
Yes, that's
stressed.
Where it locks in for me. I love Ghost Protocol.
Yeah. So good stuff. Good weekend. But Melissa, speaking of good stuff, what are we here to talk about this week?
If you die and find yourselves in a mysterious afterlife, that's definitely a Ghost Protocol. Today, we are talking about season 3 of The Good Place. We have been watching all of this show, 1 season a month. This is our 3rd episode in the series. Next month, we will conclude with the 4th of all 4 seasons.
Yeah, this is exciting. When we had went into this show at the start, I knew nothing about it, obviously. But the one thing that I did know is that people liked the first season, and they also really liked the 3rd season. They liked the entirety of the show, but those two specifically are like the standout ones here. So I've been waiting to watch season 3 here, and here we are now having seen it. And I mean, I obviously haven't seen season 4, so I don't know how that stacks up yet, but I so far have to agree and be like, yeah, I think this was a great progression of the show. Also not exactly what I was expecting,
Yeah.
but it is. I probably said it last time too, that like that season two in the moment felt like, okay, they're starting to add more story and lore of like what I want out of it and stuff like
Mm,
this. This
mm.
felt like even more of that stuff, where it feels less like a sitcom, even though it still
Uh,
has those trappings, and it starts to feel like, okay, no, this is like a narrative story that they are telling
yeah.
here. So
There's
I
more
enjoyed it.
mystery this season.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
What do you think?
this show it's going deeper in that we are spending more and more time with these six main characters and these six main actors who get to really shake things up, play off each other in different permutations. But we
Hmm.
are also going wider. This season we were on Earth. The characters who were humans are alive for most of this season, which feels like a wild thing to say about any other show.
Yeah, they're finally alive. They're back.
Right. What do you think about Game of Thrones? The human characters were alive this season, and I really enjoyed that. But spending more time on Earth means we get to meet all of these new characters. We're not just in the same area of the good place with the same fake good place with all the demon actors and Sean
Right.
and Vicky and everybody, and we just see other characters in flashbacks. Now we get to actually interact with them and have different characters meet each other and add a bunch of new people to the roster, even in just brief little moments. It feels like they're taking every opportunity to add fun new performers in there. Like Flula Borg says like three things as a waiter in one scene. Like
Yeah.
this is a show that I think picked its core cast excellently and seems like it is really trying to get the most out of every supporting cast member that they can add to any story, still without overshadowing who our main players are.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, this in a strange way, like season two felt like a deconstruction of season one,
Mm,
and now season three feels like a deconstruction of the total, like of season one and two, like the total sum of what those
mm.
first two seasons were. Because yeah, we'll get into a plot synopsis in just a sec, but yeah, you see that like they try a new experiment where the characters are back on Earth and they're alive and stuff like that, and how can we kind of run the same experiment but on Earth? But then that kind of falls apart, and that moves on, like from
Mm.
where you think season three will start out at and stay at. It goes well above and beyond that. um so I think it moved at a really nice pace. It had some great revelations. I think some really good character moments and work
Yes.
just between the relationships that these characters have. I really kind of like the love triangle that has developed between
Yeah.
Tahani and Janet and Jason,
Hmm.
and how they're trying to deal with that.
Yes.
It's not a petty relationship. It's
Yeah.
not the like cattiness between the girls fighting over Jason, but it's always like it feels like a series of good intentions and misunderstandings,
Yes.
and they all just want
Yeah.
the best for one another, which is something you don't really see, but they're handling it
Hmm.
really adeptly, and I like that. It's cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody is very aware of what a weird situation that is. Tahani, in particular, is becoming more and more self aware and more thoughtful with
Hmm.
every season. It's really nice to watch her journey. And like I said, they keep playing with different angles on the core cast. And we had a really nice scene of friendship between Tahani and Janet that
Yeah.
with a level of emotion we hadn't seen before. I like that they're taking the time to do that, to like put everything together and every different combination and give it a little bit of time. And, we can't forget the most important job of a sitcom, which is to be funny.
Yeah.
And this, I don't take notes as regularly as you do. Sometimes just watching the show itself is like enough of a thing I have to sit down and do without also stopping to take notes. So I don't do it very regularly, but this season there were so many jokes where I thought I have to write this down. I have to record this. It's that good. At the end of the episode, I might just go through a list of good little jokes.
Cool. Good stuff. Yeah, like there's lots of great moments like that. I like you said, like playing with different iterations of the cast is kind of what you alluded to. The scene where the entire cast is played by Janet is great.
Yeah. Yes.
and
Tour de
then
force.
you get a moment where Janet is playing one character pretending to be another character, which is awesome. There's some great situations in this that I didn't even like think would be possible or knew was coming in this, and it's a blast. I had a lot of fun with this season for sure.
Also,
yes,
on a personal note for you and I, we get an incredible Lost homage.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, yeah, we get some good stuff with that. Do you want to do like a basic plot synopsis to catch everyone up here?
Yeah. In this season, Michael has put all of the 4 core humans that he is experimenting with and has now befriended. They're all alive again on Earth. And him and Janet are there kind of nudging things in the right direction. Chidi and Eleanor have met, and he has realized, oh, you and I both shared this near-death experience, and both of us then tried to devote our lives to becoming better people. Has this happened with anybody else? I could do a study on this. This is how they bring in Jason and Tahani. They are becoming this core study group. And of course, then as Michael tries to nudge things in the right direction, so that Eleanor doesn't have to get a part-time job that would then like take time away from the time she can spend with the other humans. Then he like makes her win the lottery for just like enough money to live off of, things like that. As they get more and more involved, they do have to reveal themselves. And then when the humans know what has been happening to them, they're like, wait, so now we have an advantage on knowing how to live our lives in order to get into the good place. We can't keep this to ourselves. So then they go around to friends and family members to try and do what they can to encourage them onto a better path so that they don't also end up in the bad place.
Yeah. This one was a lot of fun. Good things to say, but like a continuation of good things that has escalated. I feel like I liked season 1. I liked season 2 better. I liked season 3 even better than 1 and 2. So yeah, the show is absolutely growing on me. Was watching it with my partner, and we got to the season 3 finale, and then she was like, man, I'm upset. Now we have to wait to watch season 4 till you cover it on the show.
Yeah. It's
I know. I want to keep watching.
Deeply frustrating. I had a stress dream last night that was like about a bunch of different stresses. Like, what if I did bad at my job and they blew up my apartment? Like, not the entire building, just my specific unit of my apartment.
Man,
what if I had to be in the Titanic? Could I survive? And then also, like, is Chidi okay? How will Chidi be?
Is he hungry? Does he need a sandwich?
Is he happy? Does he feel taken care of?
What was I? Was it this or was it something else? I was watching something. Oh God, what was I while watching. I don't remember now. I watched so much stuff. There was a character, their parent was asking them if they had worn clean underwear. Was that in this? I don't know, but that's just a thought that ran through my mind now. Cheaty, did you wear clean underwear?
Surely, yes.
Anyways, oh well. Cool. Well, yeah, that's kind of all I have to say, at least spoiler free, for The Good Place season 3. So let's take a quick break for housekeeping, and then when we get back, we will dive in and start talking a little bit more in depth about season 3 here. So we'll be right back. Here at the Whatnauts, we make multiple different shows, and a lot of hard work goes into making them, so we would love it if you check them all out. If you enjoy our shows, patreon.com/thewhatnauts is the best place to show your support. For just $1 a month, you can get early access to episodes, and at our $3 tier, a Patreon exclusive podcast, The Pilots Club. You can even get a shout out and thank you on most of our shows at the $5 tier. And if you're one of our patrons already, thank you so much, it means the world to us. You can find out more information on our website, thewhatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. When you type in The Whatnauts, all of our shows will pop up right there. Just don't forget to give us a nice rating and review if you like the shows. You can also find us on YouTube and Twitch for video versions of the shows, trailer reactions, and live streams. And lastly, we have merch. If you want to grab yourself a shirt or a hoodie or a mug or something else, head over to thewhatnauts.com/store to pick up some merch today. All right, we are back. Once again, big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. We love you a lot.
Thank you.
It means a ton. On the Pilots Club this month, we are on this coming month, I should say, we are talking about a Netflix show called Cable Girls. This is a Spanish show. It's a period piece and is about a group of women who all become operators at a telecommunications company, about to do their first international call. Their first international call with the United States, and it seems like there are a multitude of reasons why all these women come to that job and what it means for them. And so it's going to be an interesting one to talk about. But we will be recording that soon here. That'll be up for this next month. And I think that'll be an exciting one. So be on the lookout for that. But cool things that we've been up to here at the Whatnauts. Last week, right here on the review show, Melissa, you and I did a bit of a Pride episode. And we watched The Watermelon Woman. Mm-hmm. Do you want to tell us a bit about that one?
The Watermelon Woman was the first feature film directed by a Black lesbian. It is an American film from, I think, 1996. And it is about this woman who works in a video store as she pursues her dream of becoming a filmmaker. And she is working on a documentary about a Black actress from the 30s and 40s who appeared in very small, very stereotypical roles and was credited only as the Watermelon Woman. She's trying to figure out who that woman actually was, and finds that she may have had relationships with fellow women, just like our main character has.
Yeah, that one was an interesting watch for sure. I'm glad we got to watch that one. Over on the Captain's Log, we've been playing a bunch of games over on that show. We recently did a fantasy dad draft in honor of Father's Day. We got to pick a team of dads to supplement our already incredible fathers.
Yes.
And just got to see who would you want to be a dad in your life, right?
Yeah, and how do they interact with your own existing father?
Exactly. That was a blast. last week on the Captain's Log. We also got to catch up a bunch on what we've been watching, some pop culture news. I got to talk about American-born Chinese and Drops of God. Melissa, you had a bunch of thoughts on the Indiana Jones movies because you've been rewatching those.
Watching them for the first time. I think
Yes,
I had seen 30% of all of the Indiana Jones franchise. So most of it was a new watch this year.
Good stuff. And last but not least, over on the Reactor Core, we have some spoiler casts for not only The Flash, but we just started our series on Secret Invasion. So if you want to hear us talk about the first episode of Secret Invasion, that is already up, and we will be back each and every week as that show continues. So yeah, there you go. That is what we've been up to here at the Whatnauts. But without further ado, let's get into spoilers on season 3 of The Good Place. Cool. Melissa, where do you want to start with this one?
What were some of your favorite Earth side adventures? Because we are on Earth for the majority of the season until we go into like the Janet Void and then the International Hole of Pancakes.
Yes.
And then they have to reboot the simulation again.
Yeah. Favorite Earth stuff. I think the thing that sticks out to me is kind of the standalone episode when they go visit, I forget the character's name, but the one dude who's like, he figured out like the good
Doug
place.
Fawcett. Yeah. Doug Fawcett.
Yeah, when they go visit him, it is kind of this, like, it's a joke that they mentioned like in season 1.
Yes.
Like, oh yeah, there's this one guy who like when he was younger like got like stupidly high and figured it out. Like there's a point system he has to do, and it's just kind of this thing that they mention and talk about, this joke, but here they actually go visit him.
Yes.
And they go to see him because Michael is not only like trying to keep up these experiments and stuff, but by this point in the show, he's kind of figured out it's not just that my experiment is kind of working, but also going off the rails in ways that we didn't intend, that there's something wrong with the point system here. Yeah. Being a good person isn't necessarily cutting it these days here. So yeah, they go to visit him and be like, well, you figured it out. You're the blueprint for this. What does your life look like? Who, like, just to go see, like, let me go actually meet him. And oh man, it is just this like miserable existence.
Yes.
Where he is by himself. He grows all his own food, and it's only like 2 things. But he's so nice that even if he like steps on a bug, he like has a whole funeral for. He steps on a snail in this. There's this like local kid that sometimes like shows up and is just mean to him. It is a bully. Go do this, go do that. And to be nice, he has to obey this kid and do all that. And he's the biggest pushover in the world, just trying to do every kind of performative act to be nice. And that is, Michael just kind of sees this whole thing and doesn't necessarily show it, but you can tell by his words, he's kind of horrified by this thing of like, this is not what it's supposed to be. And I think then that leads into something else that stood out to me about the show when they go to the like mail room like place in the good place, in the actual good place. And then they have to like call the council that's happening there. I forget what they're all called exactly, but again, the council is also this like very much a performative allyship. Like they say they have their hands tied with all of this bureaucracy and
Mm.
stuff like that, but it is very much just performative. And that was kind of something that stood out to me about the whole, like the season as a whole. There's a lot that is performative about like being a good person that I think this season is really diving into and making a critique on. But yeah, I think just kind of saying what a miserable existence that one dude had. It was just like,
Yeah.
maybe not this, maybe not the answer.
Right. Yeah, like he's doing everything that he can think of to be a good person because he got high in his 20s and saw what it was and realized I know what I have to do if I want to avoid being tortured for the rest of eternity after I die. Is I have to be the best possible person here on earth. I have to maximize every single task, every single action that I do, every choice that I make. So he's
Yeah,
like, I only eat lentils because it is the it is the smallest carbon footprint, like of all foods or something like that. You can tell he
yeah,
hates lentils. And Michael's like, well, why don't you just ease up a little bit? Like, take a day off. You know, go have a cheeseburger and a milkshake or whatever. And he's like, I can't do that. I don't know where I am. I don't know what my points are. If I let it slide for one day, maybe that one day is what makes the difference between eternal paradise or eternal torment. You can see that this man
yeah.
is not enjoying anything. He is not happy
Yes, yeah.
at
He's not
all.
happy. And I think something about the whole scenario here that the show does not mention, but I think kind of comes into play in the background is he does not know his point total. He just knows that if he does good things, he will get more
Mm.
points. But there's the thing that I'm kind of alluding to is the show does not say, like, when you're born, humans are essentially good, so you start at zero,
Oh.
or all people are evil, and so
Mm.
you, like, when you start getting points, right, you're making up some kind of original sin or debt that you already have
Mm.
to pay.
Mm.
And I think that's interesting that, like, the show is starting to play with some of that stuff, even if they don't mention it explicitly. That he's just like, I've lived my whole life doing as, like, the most good that I can, but I don't know if I'm 1 point above the margin or
Yes.
20,000.
Yes.
And so, yeah, he lives this life just in constant fear. He's paralyzed,
Mhm.
basically, by
Yeah.
all of that. And I think this is kind of one of the critiques I had early on in season one
Mm.
of the show, is that it's kind of like the season one almost felt non-committal in, like, what is the show trying to say? Or even if you're not saying something specifically, like, what topics are you truly exploring here? And the show was kind of taking this stance of, like, well, it's the good place, it's not heaven per se.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think as the show went on, they kind of eased up on, let's not call it heaven than they do. It's
Yeah.
like, it's heaven, it's just not the Christian one that you
Yeah.
think of. But then also, like, yeah, like, they weren't, it's not like the world like, this is not a show about Christianity,
Mhm.
or like how Christians should live their life.
Mhm.
It's not about one religion in particular. And I felt, at least in season one, it was trying to kind of not step on any toes and, in a sense, just be non-committal with that. But season three at least has found, it seems like it's found a way to kind of touch on some of those topics without, again, without committing, but in a way that
Mhm.
feels more philosophical, feels more like, well, let's actually get into some of the topics that we can debate here. And I like that. I like that the show is exploring that in a way,
Mhm.
because we were also like, we know that Chidi is teaching them philosophy, but I also don't really know if I've really learned anything about philosophy through the show, and I kind of wish I
I've
had
learned
a
little
little bit.
bits.
Yeah, it's just little
I've le
small
I've
things.
I've learned tiny things, you know, I know the concept of a happiness pump now, which is it might have been from Kierkegaard. See, I know the term, but I forget, like, which philosopher it's from. But the
Right, yeah.
concept of that in a utilitarian society where the more good you do for other people, the more good you are, you will turn your life into utter self-sacrifice to the point where you are no longer a person, you are a tool. And that is kind of what Doug Forsett is. There
Mhm.
is nothing about him that is himself. That episode starts with you see him going about his day just in small close-ups. Like, it takes a while before you see Michael McKean's face, which an hour before I turned on this episode not knowing what it was. I was talking to Jack about how I watched some other movie and Michael McKean showed up in it. And I'm like, he's one of my favorites. Always happy to see him. So a
Yeah.
true moment of fate. But we're watching him go about his day as just these unidentified actions of some man somewhere on earth while he puts in a Mama Cass tape, which is exactly the season 2 opening to Lost. I was so happy to see that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
he picks one cassette tape over another cassette tape, but that's all he really has to personalize his life, to engage in leisure and in personal choice. Like, he can't he chose to eat lentils not out of preference, only
Right.
because this is like the greenest thing I could think to eat.
Yeah. Yeah, it very much does kind of mimic Lost in that sense that yeah, you get to see Desmond like down in the hatch, just kind of going about his day before you even really know like who he is or who this
Yeah.
person is. It opened with that at the start of this season, and you're like, who is this? Where are we? But even Lost also plays with some similar concepts of like, not only like, where are we? Are we in purgatory? Like, what's happening here? But then, yeah, like the whole idea of like, are we being punished? Did we do something to deserve this? Do I need to be a certain type of person or character to get out of this? Right.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was a great homage to Lost for sure. Um,
Mhm. And
but
this
yeah,
leads to Michael talking to Sean. Like, I think Sean calls him to taunt him or whatever, and Sean's saying, like, nothing you do is gonna get these humans into the good place. Nothing they are doing for their friends and family to encourage them to lead a better life is going to get them into the good place. He's like, Doug Forsett isn't even gonna make it up there. Michael's like, if Doug Forsett can't get into the good place, something is truly wrong. And he's like, I think the bad place has been skewing the point system. I think they've got their thumb on the scale. This isn't right. So then he goes to the accounting department. And the accounting department's like, look, there's no way for anybody to game the system. Like 3 million people have to like confirm and double check, yes, this points value is correct. And they see some like live examples. And Michael lands on he realizes like the book he took about Doug Forsett is the book of all Dougs that have ever existed in human existence
the
throughout
Book of
time.
Dougs. Yeah, it's
So
great.
he flips it open to like a random Doug that existed in the 1500s. And he's like, this Doug uh, walked along the road, picked up some wild roses from a bush, took them to his grandmother for her birthday, and he got 140 points. And then just last week, another modern day Doug also ordered roses to be sent to his grandmother for her birthday. But because he ordered them on the phone and the phone was made in a sweatshop, and then the flowers were grown with pesticides and picked by, you know, the poorly treated workers. And then if you go up and up the chain of who owns the flower company, it's this terrible racist billionaire. So everything, like what that guy did to say, oh, it's my grandma's birthday, I think she'd really like some roses, actually got him like negative 40 points or something in the
Right.
grand scheme of things, because it was part of one greater chain of actions that even if he wasn't aware of, he still bore the responsibility of. And that's the the theory, the statement of the latter part of this season is it is getting harder and harder to be a good person. There's so many unintended consequences to your actions, and it's no longer about, to this point system, what you intend to happen. It's about what does happen. And he's like, there's no way anybody can win. And he talks to the Good Place, I think, the Good Place representatives. He asks Paul Scheer, and Paul Scheer's like, yeah, nobody's gotten in the Good Place for like 500 years. We figured it was just a slow spell.
Yeah. Yeah. And I recognized that person's voice who works in the accounting department. Like he got on screen and it's like, I've not seen you really before, but I know your voice. Where do I know that from? And he what's the actor's name again who worked there?
Stephen Merchant from
Stephen
like the UK
Merchant.
office and Logan.
Yes. Yeah, he's also the voice of Wheatley in Portal 2, which is where I know him from. Because we looked him up and I was like, okay, in the British version of The Office, that makes sense. I haven't seen that though, but like, okay, I'm not recognizing any of these other things here. He was in Logan. I don't remember that exactly, but sure. And then I didn't see, because when you look at like, what has this actor been in,
right?
Video games aren't the things that pop up on the Google search. So I was like, I still know, like it was bugging me, and so I looked up his Wikipedia page, and it's like, it also known as Wheatley in Portal 2, and I was like, that's it, I know him.
They've got great guest stars this season. They've got
they really do.
A lot of my favorite podcasters. I love to see Paul Scheer. Nicole Byer is so well utilized as that postal worker in The Good Place. She's phenomenal. Yeah. She's also like a podcaster. I know. The primary way through which I know people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they had some good stuff with that, but I think that's also a revelation that that they had on this show, again, without even saying it, because Michael, suggests to Doug, like, hey, take a day off, go into town, like eat a cheeseburger, all that stuff, and then later comes to the realization that Doug literally can't do that without losing points. Like even just to go get a cheeseburger, there's so many other decisions that people don't necessarily think about or don't know about or haven't done the research to know all of this stuff, right? And that's why they're continually losing points, and that's why there's been this dry spell for so many years, right?
And then Jason, of all people, brings up a really good point where like they're bringing this case to the judge, and the judge is like, well, if you need to do the research, like just do the research. And then Jason's like, I got to tell you about somebody from my dance crew named Big Noodle. I was always yelling at Big Noodle for showing up to dance practice late.
We'll get back to Jason and some of the revelations about him and his life later, because holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy fucking shirt balls.
One day the swamp under my houseboat flooded, and I had to spend the night at Big Noodle's house, and I found that Big Noodle worked 3 jobs to take care of his 4 grandparents, and that's why he was always late to dance practice, and I never yelled at him again. He's like, the point is, just living your life is enough work that a lot of people don't have the capacity to do extensive research into. Where did this tomato I'm buying at the grocery store come from? Like the levels of work to which I need to make a meal. What is the recipe for the meal I will make? What is the ingredients I need? What store will I go to buy the ingredients? And then it's like, I got to check price. Do I buy organic or non-organic? What brand? What farm did this come from? Like, exactly. One choice is 100 micro choices, and no human being has the capacity to research and like thoroughly weigh and judge 100 micro choices like that.
Yeah. And I think on the flip side of that, what I appreciate, something that the show did not say, is that like people who do have certain convictions, like they didn't name names in this, but they definitely alluded to Chick-fil-A. Like
Mhm.
if you are someone who chooses not to support Chick-fil-A, like they don't put you down as a result of having
Mm,
that
mm,
conviction here, even though the show is also kind of saying like there's so many other things that you probably are supporting that you like have similar stuff that you haven't researched yet. These ones just happen to be a little more vocal on that, and so you know it, or you
yeah.
have done the research, right? And that's why you have that conviction. And they're not being like, well, you're a terrible person because you don't support this, but you do support this other thing here. um and I think that's important, that people can
Mhm.
draw their own lines, and do the research that they want to. And I think having those convictions are a good thing. And I think also on the flip side, like, hey, having like being able to kind of bend those convictions sometimes
Mm,
can be a good thing.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's it's the most relatable I've ever seen a show be. Like, these are true human problems that humans encounter all the time. Like this week, the local theater I go to all the time, I talk to you about it often. They were doing a production of Beauty and the Beast. My family was going to go. We were going to take my niece. And in conjunction with that, they were also doing a children's book drive. And I remember this like 3 hours before we were going to see this musical. I'm like, oh, we should stop and get some books. And then, like, the only bookstore between me and the theater was a Barnes and Noble. So we buy a couple books, we bring it to the book drop table. And they were like, great, thank you so much. Here, take some of our pamphlets. Here's a list of our local independent booksellers we would like to support. And I'm like, I know, but they're nowhere near me. Like, for me, it was like, if you want me to only shop there, you would have gotten no books tonight from me. I don't have
yeah,
the time. So I felt like, I'm going to try and do a good thing. I'm going to bring them some books. And they're like, did you buy them at the right place? We see that you were taking them out of a Barnes and Noble pack.
yeah. It's interesting because you and I actually haven't talked about this. I don't know if you saw this article or not, but speaking of Lost, there was a recent article that came out about what it was like in the writers' room for Lost. This kind of happened right at the start of this most recent writers' strike, because
Mm,
Lost was also one of the shows that kind of got majorly
mm,
affected by the writers' strike back in 2007. And it was not I mean, it was a very good article, but it was kind of revealing that this writer's room was maybe not the best place to be, and that some of the creators on this show were like very sexist or very racist. And this is why like the character of Michael in the show Lost left for so long, and all of this stuff. And it's stuff that we've, like, I feel like we've kind of known a little bit of back in the day, knowing that certain characters were meant to be more important in the show, and then once they
mm.
started to ask for a little bit more money or stuff like that, maybe they got killed off or stuff like that. And this kind of revealed some of the stuff that was happening behind the scenes and the real reasons for all of that stuff. um and it's just like, oh man, I fucking love Lost. It's my favorite
Right.
show of all time. I think it's phenomenal. But also, man, this sucks that like this was happening on set and in the writers' room here, and the actors felt this way about the creators, and there
Mm,
was tension and stuff like that. And it just it really sucks. And I, like, on one hand, like I now have to like be like, I mean, Lost is my favorite show. I know it had its problems and all that
mm,
stuff, but man,
mm,
it's so good, right? um
mm.
yeah, and that's kind of what this show is wrestling with. Like, you like, where do you find that
Yeah.
balance? And I think that's something that a lot of other shows haven't really explored
Mhm.
in life. It's not a like hip cool action scene, right? Yeah, it's an interesting take on all of this stuff. It's something that a lot of people, I think, have in their minds but don't necessarily think about. Like, they don't take the time
Mhm.
to actually sit down and think, okay, where do I fall in this here?
Mm.
So I liked this a lot.
Yeah, I think it hits on something very true, that it is with the best of intentions, how far are you actually getting? How much do intentions mean? How much work is one individual person responsible for looking into? Like, maybe you do decide to go to the local farmer's market and buy like an organically grown tomato from a local farm. But then if that farmer is like pushing their children into going into the farming profession and doesn't want to listen to them about any other job they want to do, like, Dad, I want to be an actor. Like, you don't know that. Are you then like causing all this family strife by saying, I want a tomato, please? Like, where is the limit? How much does go on one person? How much should be on any person's conscience at any given time?
Yeah, absolutely. Can we talk about Jason some more?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Donkey Doug?
Yes. Yeah.
Who
Great twist.
we've heard the name Donkey Doug multiple times. We've even like seen flashbacks of them together, kind of.
I think we mostly see him with his buddy
Oh,
Pillboy. But yeah,
that's
sometimes
right.
they
Yeah, yeah,
do
yeah.
talk about their other friend Donkey Doug.
It also turns out that Donkey Doug is Jason's dad.
Yeah. Like, was always his dad. It's not like this was a surprise reveal. Jason's like, yeah, that is my dad. I am his son. I always call him Donkey Doug. Like, that's what he likes to be called.
What? What is going on in this show? I just this I think was the biggest, wildest reveal to me. Besides all of the like, the like, there's something wrong with the points system. No, Donkey Doug is Jason's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest revelation of the entire show.
Right. That's such a great choice to take this one like chaotic friend he keeps mentioning and to say, no, that's his dad. This is the man who's supposed to be a mentor and a guiding figure to him, who's like, yeah, let's sneak into SeaWorld and do some whippets or whatever.
Just not a good father figure at all.
Yeah.
Donkey Doug would not have made our fantasy dad giraffe at all.
And then it was even odder is to see that like Jason's like, yeah, it's my dad. Like, he doesn't seem to feel as if he's been harmed in any way by having a dad who is this much of a chaotic figure to him. And he's like, if I could like trying to be a better person to Hani, tries to give away all of her money. Like, she just goes to the ATM and is handing like wads of bills to random citizens in Australia. And her and Jason take a break, and he's like, if I like the amount of money you're just handing out to people, he's like, if I had that, and on this one day several years ago, like, that would have taken care of my rent and I wouldn't have needed to shoplift or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
And he's like, this could have made a huge difference in my life. And she's like, well, let's take care of your friends and family then. If it would have affected you and your community so much, let me give my money there. They also like get legally married so that she can like share so much of her money with Jason.
Yeah.
Which I think is funny. I think it's funny that Jason gets married every season in different circumstances.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And that like they go to an actual bank like to like give someone money like is not that difficult to do, but because she's so rich and so famous, she has this like super high end bank. It's real fancy, and here's Jason in his like tracksuit and stuff like that, and they're just like, this is a bad idea. Like, we're not going to
Mhm.
give him this money.
Right, it's also like, legally, you can't just, like, give this guy the $500,000. That's not how this goes, there is a limit here.
Yeah. God, he's such a funny character. He was the one
He's
in season 1 that I had trouble kind of getting into as a character. He was just kind of a lot compared to some of the other characters. I think I've kind of just described these like the main core cast here as caricatures, and he was the one that I felt was like the most
Mm,
caricature. Also because he's just a himbo, right? Like
yeah.
on top of that, he's just kind of dumb. And I think by where we are now in season 3, he's maybe my favorite character.
He is my
Like
favorite.
he's grown on me the most. He's so funny, he's so sincere, he's one of the most caring characters in the
Yes.
entire show. Just wants to do right by everyone, wants to take care of everyone. Just a genuinely good person,
Mhm.
but just is all about like he's supportive in the way when someone says like, yeah, let's go break into a mall and do weapons or whatever else. He's just like, yeah, let's do it, I support you, right? Like, let's go.
Yeah,
And just
he's
gets himself into all like, no, what are you doing?
Ja Jason is on everybody's side, and when he
Yes.
does, points deducting action, he does it with he doesn't think about anything. He just thinks, "We need money for the dance crew, so we can have, like, new uniforms or go to the state championships or whatever. I'm gonna rob a Mexican restaurant." Like, he's just like, "I need money, money's there. I will give the
Yeah.
money to my friends."
I,
He only thinks, like, one step ahead at any given time.
I liked the scene we got where he had to announce to the dance crew that we are officially now no longer doing crime. And then like half of the crew leaves. They were only in it for the crime.
I love when Eleanor Janet is trying to talk to Cheaty Janet, and she is like, "Cheaty isn't going to listen to me. I have to send somebody." He would listen to somebody else. Maybe he would listen to Jason. So Eleanor Janet disguises herself as Jason, and the flub that gets Cheaty to realize this isn't Jason, this is Eleanor trying to pull one over on me, is that she's like, "Yeah, my 80-person dance crew." And he's like, "It's a 60-person dance crew. Jason always talks about it. You're not Jason."
It's so good. So good. Yeah, he
And
has
then you
absolutely become my favorite in the
right.
show.
Like, these characters know each other so well. Like, that feels like a flip of the test Eleanor has to do at the end of season 2, where she has to recognize that's not really Cheaty. That's the judge's simulation of a Cheaty. I
Mhm.
also like that, like, her and Jason, like, switched clothes. And then you see Jason over there, like, like dressed as Eleanor saying, "Look at me. I'm Arizona shrimp horny."
Yes. Great stuff. Great stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, I really enjoyed all of that. What else do I want to talk about? Yeah, we kind of just touched on Janet playing multiple characters. That was
Yes.
fantastic. I
A
know
tour de force from Darcy Carden.
we've been wanting more Janet and more different
Yeah.
versions of Janet.
Yeah.
We got a medium Janet, like a
Neutral Janet.
yeah, a neutral Janet. That was fantastic. But I like that it is, yeah, not just these like, here's the good Janet, the neutral Janet, the bad Janet, and then maybe something else that fits in there. It is Janet playing all of these other characters that I think is just so special and is just so
Yeah.
fun. I
And all of them are
really hope they can top that in season 4.
yeah. And they have her powers since they are her. So like Jason misses his friend Pillboy, and then all of a sudden he's
Pillboy's
hanging
there.
out with Pillboy in the empty, broken down jacuzzi. And Pillboy says, I was just chilling, being nothing, and then all of a sudden I was.
Yeah.
And they're wandering around and they find Janet's diary. And they find the splash page of Jason with hearts around him, and they play the song Digital, Digital, Get Down. Just you and me.
It's so good. Man, yeah, there's so much good. There's so much good about this show. This is the one I think season 1 and 2 I had stuff of like, but maybe there was this one thing that I didn't like, or I don't know if I like this aspect of the show. This one, I don't think there was anything that I really disliked or was like, man, I wish they did more of this one thing. I enjoyed it all. I was happy. I was satisfied with this.
Like I said, it goes wider in that it goes deeper. Like it knows its characters very well. It also has the awareness that the characters know each other very well. Like they are tightly bonded as a group. That's something I really like, that the bond is always there, even if it is lost due to a reboot or a memory wipe or anything like that. They find that bond again. It is this constant element to all of their lives, again, to invoke Lost.
Yep.
We get deeper with them, and we also like put them in all these different situations, and we expand the different places we can put them on Earth. We got something I really wanted out of the time that they were going to spend on Earth, which is interacting with each other's families. Like there's the episode where Michael reveals, Eleanor, your mom didn't die. She overbid on a charity auction to win a date with Gene Simmons. Like she couldn't pay $30,000, so she faked her own death, and she's living a new life. And I can take you to go see her. And Eleanor's so suspicious of her mom, and Michael's like, I think she genuinely has changed. I think she's okay here. And then we have a confrontation with Camilla, Tahani's sister. I like that episode a lot. I like that Chidi's like, I'm going to go and try and talk to her. I'm going to try and reason to her with this. And then Camilla just does, like, she looks at him real hard and is like, all your fears are mine now. And he goes back to Tahani like, I don't know what happened. All my fears are hers now. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And I love the realization that with all this abstract art that's in her art gallery, which I love that Jason looks at, and it looks at all these abstract circles, and he's like, they're boobs. And the painting's about how boobs are good no matter what the shape, size, or distance apart. Like, good body positivity from Jason there. And Tahani looks at all the paintings and realizes it's like two shapes huddled together and then two shapes distant in the corner. And she's like, this is our parents conspiring with each other to pit the two of us against each other. She's like, Camilla never benefited from having the spotlight put on her any more than I did. She's like, I finally realized, like, we are in the same boat. Like we've always been more together than we have been apart. And those two hug and make amends. I was happy the show chose those routes to make amends with characters who may have wronged our protagonists in the past, instead of taking vengeance on Camilla. It's about finding common ground, finding the empathy, the humanity, making a better choice time after time. And like, even when Jason realizes maybe I can't really help Donkey Doug, then I'll help Pillboy. Also, I love that when you see Pillboy working at the nursing home, that is what his name tag says. Just Pillboy with an I, B-O-I.
Right, yeah. He's also like genuinely good at like being a caregiver. That like has a good rapport with it. Even if he says some questionable stuff, it's in good jest with the with the people there, and they all like him. They all love him and enjoy him there. It's not like this guy. this guy
Mhm.
doesn't care about us. I love that about him. Like, best thing
Yeah.
I've seen about him is that he's genuinely caring for these people that he works with.
And I
So
like
yeah,
that that's a one-off joke from season 1 where Pillboy talks about how he works in a nursing home just to like get pills from all of the senior citizens there, and then you learn
yeah,
that it's more of a they share with him. They like him. Like they take these things that could be a joke that are a joke and then they go deeper on them, but they go deeper and like what is the best possible version of this? Not the funniest possible version of this. Of course it is. The show is very funny. It's very good at that. But what is the
right.
most positive version of this? What if he isn't stealing pills from them? They genuinely like him and they're like, "Oh, you want one of these, honey? Like we can split this Vicodin."
Yeah. To go back real quick, when we got to see Eleanor's mom, we got a
Yeah.
review show alum of
Yeah,
Andy
Andy.
Daly.
Yes.
Uh,
So happy to see him perfectly used.
I was surprised to see him. I also just saw him in something else. I don't remember
He
what it
works.
was. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at his Wikipedia right now to see if I could remember what it was. I also just saw him in, but he like same kind of thing. He plays like a suburban dad. You see him for like 2 seconds, and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but it's just like, oh, same guy, same character,
Yep, there
basically.
he is. I I
But
like
yeah, he's
that
good.
when we are on Earth, we get this like new type of joke that we haven't had before. Uh which is that they when we see them go to Jacksonville, Florida to talk to Donkey Doug, they fly into Randy Macho Man Savage International Airport. And then they go to where Eleanor's mom lives in Nevada and she's trying to get on the PTA council for her boyfriend's daughter. And they are going to MGM Grand Elementary School. And then when Eleanor and Michael need a private place to talk, she's like, let's go to the library. Nobody in Arizona is at the library. It is Tostitos Scoops presents Public
Saw that.
Library.
Big old sign. There's also some comment that is made off, like it's this real subtle comment towards Eleanor about her like potentially being into bald men with mustaches.
Yes.
And it just like it clicked. It was like just like Randy Savage or no, just like
Stone Cold Steve
Steve Austin, who she's also into. I was like,
Right.
they don't even need to say his name.
Right. You
like
get it. You can draw the
to the
line.
point. Yeah, make the
Yeah.
connection.
I love that the joke is Chidi got me to read Paradise Lost because he told me Satan was my type of guy.
Yeah, yes, it's that bald guy with a mustache, potential goatee here.
Chidi is interesting because he is the character who we know the least about his home life. It seems like his conflict is really internal. It's more of his own neuroses with the world and not like a familial conflict that he has. Like this season he mentions like my parents would go to a symposium and then I would sneak into their office and read the unabridged dictionary. So it seems like his parents were also scholars, very much like he is. Maybe it's not a situation where they pushed him into this career, that he just took to it naturally. Maybe there's just not a lot of a conflict there.
Yeah.
I did like at the beginning of the season when Eleanor goes to visit him in his office and somebody else sticks their head in, some other colleague, and says something to him in French, and he responds and he mentions to her, "Oh, I'm from Senegal." Like that is the primary language spoken there is French. I also know all these other languages. Like it's not really a joke, but it's just like a nice thing to learn about Chidi and about Senegal. Like we don't dive into his backstory a lot. We just dive into his personality, how his mind works, which isn't a shortcoming. I just think it's interesting that they are playing this card with Eleanor and Tahani and Jason that they feel like they don't need to play with Chidi. He can sort of go on his own journey that's like him versus his own neuroses, which is what it seems like season 4 is going to be. that he is the one who gets his mind wiped, and is also one of the new humans being brought into this experiment. I like that opportunity to see him in a different light, maybe get to learn more things about him.
Yeah.
But I love in the Jeremy Baramy episode when Michael is drawing a timeline, he's like, you humans think time goes like this. And he draws a straight line. He's like, when really it looks like this. And then he writes in big swirly cursive the name Jeremy Baramy. He's like, this is really what time looks like. And Chidi just stares at the dot over the eye and like loses his mind. Like what William Jackson Harper does with his face is incredible. Like Chidi goes through an absolute breakdown. You see him like walking through a park, and then like he walks past a sprinkler or something, and his shirt gets wet. And he just takes off his shirt and leaves it there and keeps walking.
Dude,
he goes
into ripped too. Dude,
he is. That's
such
so
good shape.
Funny. Dork who is secretly ripped is one of the best jokes. And he goes to a grocery store and he's just buying like piles and piles of like marshmallow fluff and candy and all this nonsense. And somebody's like, sir, you need to have a shirt. And he just takes like a women's t-shirt that says like who, what, where, when, wine. And then you cut to him making the big pot of chili. And he's like, you put the peeps in the chili pot, and then you add the candy. You put the peeps in the chili pot, and then you add some Oreos. And then the reverse cut from him to the lecture hall watching him do this. One of the funniest jokes. That single cut, so much work.
So good. Yeah, like it's especially like when he just goes like, it's all about nihilism. Like nothing matters. Just do whatever the hell you want. Just it's that we're all doomed. We're all gonna die. We're all going to the bad place. Nothing matters. Eat this 500 pounds of chili that's gonna make me sick for a month. Is hilarious. I loved that whole scene. I loved just the like reckless abandon he has with that. But to go back to what you said about his parents, I like what's interesting about Chidi is most of his conflict is internal, but we also know that he has hurt a lot of people in his life because of his internal conflict. And I don't think he knows the extent of that. So I'm wondering if he's I'm wondering if he like the parents haven't really been in the picture because he doesn't know that he's hurt them or something like that. There might be some kind of sense of abandonment or something by them that he just doesn't realize is happening. So that could be something potentially happening in season 4 that he has to come to terms with, or to go back to his one friend, right? That he wanted him to be like the best man in his wedding, and to reconcile with him. Like that could also be a stand-in for like, hey, you are basically my family. Like you are my best man here. That could be something that he has to go reconcile with. Should be interesting.
Yeah, you've got a good point that Chidi he perhaps has hurt more people than he has ever been hurt himself, not through malice, just through like pure indecision. Like he can't make a choice. He can't commit to anything. He's never fully present. He's always in his own head. You can wonder if it's maybe like his parents' marriage isn't going well, but they're keeping it to themselves because they're like, we cannot get divorced. He can't pick who he wants to live with. Like, we cannot force him to choose a side because he never will. So we just have to be in this like loveless act of a marriage until he is an adult.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. There could be anything back there.
Who knows? Something else that I'm super excited for potentially in season 4 is this kind of return to the original setting, but everything is like rotated and switched around. Like that's kind of something I was hoping for at the end of season 1 is like what like I mentioned it when we covered season 1, but that show Prison Break,
Yeah.
Season 1 of that show, phenomenal.
Mm.
Everything after that, maybe not so great. And like one of my ideas back then when that show was on was like, well, what if every season was like new characters, new plot, new
Mm.
prison, new scenario, right? And this is almost kind of like that in a weird way. It's just like let's take all the ingredients, but instead of like putting it in a new location, it's just like, what if we rotate everything by one? So
Mm.
Eleanor is now the architect, and Michael is kind of like the assistant, and Tahani is kind of playing her same self,
Mm.
but she's grown
Yeah.
so much as a character that
Yeah.
like she's a different character by this
Mm.
point. Yeah, things are just kind of rotated in a way that's like you've changed the formula here. Things
Yeah.
are interesting.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so yeah,
I
I'm
think
excited to see how it all wraps up and concludes.
this is a show that's very repetitive, but with a lot of intention and purpose behind it. It is about
Mhm.
an experiment. The point of an experiment is that you keep repeating it and changing the variables. That is what the
Yes.
narrative as a whole is doing. And I like that in season 2, after they've had their minds wiped, after the reboot has the experiment has been rebooted, Mindy St. Clair gives Eleanor the tape of like her telling Chidi she loves him, and he actually says it back. So she lives the rest of the season knowing that in her head. Like, we fell in love once. We are both capable of this. Are we going to do it again? And
Yeah.
then in season 3, Michael shows her some of the experiences she had in all of the different variations of the afterlife. And again, she is living this current life with Chidi, both of them clueless. And she's like, we are capable of something. Are we going to do it again? And she's like falling for him because she knows she's fallen for him already. And now we've got season 4 where his mind has been wiped and she has the same continuity of memory from season 3 to season 2.
Yeah.
Which like season 1 to season 2 and season 2 to season 3 have a break where like things are starting over, the characters' minds are being reset. But this time it's only Chidi. Everybody else in the main cast is a continuation of their experience. So he's the only one who's like the odd one out. And so like 3 times we are going to watch she knows they are capable of loving each other, and what she does with that information, how she reacts to him, and how he finds her in that situation, which
Yeah.
I like. It's
Yes. Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
like that. I much prefer this to like, we got the main couple in a sitcom together too early. Now we have to put all these obstacles in their way, like an ex comes back or something like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Which they also do at the end here. There is
Yeah,
one
Simone.
of Chidi's exes, yeah, who's now in the good bad place, this weird place that they have. Let's just call it the weird place.
They're in the weird place. Yeah, they're back in the same set with the same like froyo restaurants and the same clown house.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's technically a different neighborhood, but it does seem like they are like reusing the sets. And I think that was one of Janet, like I think that is the intention, is that like one of Janet's ideas is like, what if we make it very, very similar to season 1? Like, let's just go back to that because it kind of worked. It's just a set, like that's all we need, right?
I love the episode that flashes back to Pet Day in The Good Place, where everybody can pick like the pet they've always dreamed of, including like fantastical creatures. And Jason says, you can do a fantasy made-up creature like a penguin. So he has a penguin.
He's walking around in his Jaguars jersey.
Right, he gets a penguin. He names it after Blake Bortles. Tahani gets the mirror centaur, which is a centaur, but the top half looks and acts like Tahani, and she's terrified of it. Like the only person who can out intimidate Tahani is like magical centaur Tahani. And then Elidor's just got that iguana chilling on her shoulder.
Yep,
Chidi can't pick between 2 puppies, and then he gets stuck with the pet left over, which is an owl. He's like, all right, owls are cool. Owls represent wisdom. The owl cannot be controlled. That's a good one.
Yeah. Good stuff
As
indeed.
we come towards the end of the episode, I just have like 3 more jokes I wrote down that I want to
Yes,
shout
please
out.
tell me.
At the beginning, when Michael is in disguise and he is encountering our humans at different points in their life there on Earth, he is I love all his fake names too.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm Eddie Pizzazz.
Eddie
Dancing.
Pizzazz.
He's a librarian when he's talking to Chidi, and one of the fake books Chidi holds up is an autobiography of Tay Zonday, the guy who sang Chocolate Rain. In his autobiography, it's just called Chocolate Book. I love when the humans realize what's going on and they decide, with our time here on Earth, now that we know what we know about the good place and the bad place, let's go out to the people in our lives and try and encourage them to be better. And they're talking about traveling different places. And Michael says to Janet, I know it's touristy, but I really want to go to a lens crafters.
Great.
And I love when we get to meet Derek again, and he's like a suave James Bond Derek. And first you see him like drinking a martini with 3 olives, and the next time you see him, he has a martini glass that is no liquid; it's entirely olives. And then the third time you see him, it's a martini glass with no liquid and just an entire dry lemon bouncing around in there.
An unpeeled lemon.
Right. It's just a great escalation of 3 things.
Because that is the thing with both him and Jan, is that each time they get rebooted, they become smarter. They become like they learn a little bit more. So yeah, he is learning some things, right? He's dressing nicer. He's more coherent in his conversations and stuff like that. But he still hasn't figured out cocktails, right? He's still just like, let me just put a lemon inside this martini glass. That's a cocktail, right? Yeah.
There's great stuff in here. I love the doorman with the little frog keychain, and Michael's like, I know how to get this guy on my side, and he brings him like a coffee to go mug with a tree frog on it. And the guy's amazed, like, look at this frog. He's a real jumper. And like forever, he is like Michael's best friend. He's like, hey, frog man.
Do you ever do a thing when you're like watching a movie or a show and you feel like you know the line that the character is about to say, even if you like haven't seen it before, right? You say the thing that you think they're about to say, and then they say it, and you're like, yeah, I got it right. Right? Have you ever like
I think so,
gotten that? I did that like at the exact same time that he steps into the mail room or wherever it is, and it just like smells like frogs in here, right? Like I forget what the exact scenario is, but I had a moment like that with him where the doorman shows up and he like there's this pause and he's about to say something, and I like out loud said the exact line that he says just like a second before, and I was just like, yeah, I nailed it, I got it right. I could be a writer. Maybe not.
I do love the glimpse that we get into the good place, that we just see like the mail room, and I like that it is a genuinely charming place in a very sort of dry, old-fashioned way. It looks like, like if you're a kid and you have to go on a field trip to a historic local house, it looks like that.
Yes.
Like it's nice, but it's very stuffy. I think they hit like the exact right balance of what the good place might be in like the one space that they show us from the good place. And I like that they can't open that door. And Eleanor's like, what is that door? Like 2 inches thick? That's only 4 Oreos. We're only 4 Oreos from the good place.
My partner, having watched that scene and also having just eaten 3 double stuffed Oreos, goes, she's not wrong. Like that's about like how much it would be.
There's so many great like little lines and little bits throughout the whole season. I really appreciate the density of the
Hmm.
show, and like how it can pack in jokes and also like stay so sincere with its characters who are trying their best to be sincere to each other. I like when Tahani realizes Janet still has these feelings from Jason after they were married in season 1, and Jason's like aware of this and like wants to respect that and is kind of curious like what sort of relationship did we have, and like him and Tahani are just married for like legal financial reasons, and Tahani's like, I know what I'll do to make this better. I'm gonna make a certificate. Like she's trying her best, but it is the most like fussy Tahani maneuver. And I like that she can tell so quickly this was a bad idea. And then she
Yeah.
goes to Michael, like, and this is like the crux of the theory of the final part of the season, the unintended consequences. She goes to him, like, I tried that and it didn't work. I thought it would work. What else do I do? I want them to feel better. What are my other options? I like that it is the most selfish character to date who has that growth, who realizes what has gone wrong and goes to Michael and prompts this realization that is like the statement of the entire show.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I enjoyed this a lot. I think that's all I have to say.
Yeah.
I've spoken everything I wanted to out into existence here. Good stuff with that. Let me pull up our bingo card so we can start getting a good look at that. I am pulling this up on screen right now. Do we have anything that can go in here?
We've got some options. I think we could.
I have diary entry.
Yes, it's not a traditional diary, but like the secret.
They do refer
hearts
to
around
it
Jason
as one
page. Yes,
and they do say like, "Hey, we read your diary here with this."
That's how it acts.
Yeah.
I think we could also cross off cool step parent. The way Eleanor's mom, the way her relationship with Andy Daly's little girl is like she buys her a lot of toys. She wants to be involved with her life. She wants to be on the PTA council at her school. She's not the traditionally like rad step parent where it's like, oh, my cool new dad, Scott, he's got like a motorcycle and he wears sunglasses and he bought me sunglasses. When I'm big enough, he's going to give me my own helmet and then I can ride with him on his motorcycle. And he's way better than my old dad. It's not that exactly, but do you think that's enough? Less cool step parent and more like, oh, very generous, committed, involved step parent.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay. That gives me a couple more bingos. The thing.
Like she is genuinely trying, and I think that's for a cool step parent. Like that can go a couple different ways because step parents can be kind of dismissive of like, I'm only here for your mom. Like I'm not your actual dad. I don't need to raise you or something like that, right? And so just cool in the sense that like she is actually taking an interest in her stepdaughter's life and wanting to be impactful in that. Man, Melissa, you are closing in here. You only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares left. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 left. I'm lagging behind. You just have a skill at like putting together a bingo card in a way that gets you all of this stuff, and I'm just I'm trying to mix things up and be random and all this, and it's just not. It never works out in my favor.
You've got good ones on here. I think like didn't realize my own strength is always fun. We just haven't hit like the right stories yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm amazed we've gotten like halfway through the year without encountering a ghost.
Right? Or like a motion capture character. Interesting.
I mean, there are like, when you see the demons in their like lava monster form, it's not clear what those are. But I mean, we were thinking of mocap character more with like the really detailed ones like a Gollum or a Jar Jar Binks.
Yes, yeah. Or the apes from Planet of the Apes. Basically,
Yes.
does Andy Serkis star
Right.
not as
An Andy
Serkis?
Serkis, a Doug
Right,
Jones,
yeah.
one of those.
Yeah, so there you go. That's our bingo update. Melissa, that I think gave you at least one more bingo.
Yes, I have.
For the stuff here. So you have quite a bit to say.
I've got 5 bingos.
Okay. Anyways,
5. I don't know if the plural of bingo is bingo.
Bingen?
I've got 5 bingums.
Look at all the bingans in the field. I don't know. Anyways, we would normally do recommendations at this time, but of course, when we do our end of the month specials, we only like to do those at the first and the last time we cover that particular show. So we're skipping it this time and going straight into what are we doing next week?
Next week, it is the 2nd annual National Treasure Weekend, where the first weekend in July, we celebrate the works of Nicolas Cage. Last year, of course, we did kick it off, the inaugural one, with National Treasure 1 and 2. This year, we are watching Adaptation, a movie where Nicolas Cage plays both of a set of twins. It's some of the most concentrated Cage you can get in a movie.
Absolutely. Double Cage. That's what we went for here. Yeah, this is one I don't think I had heard of this previously, so I'm excited to jump into it and see exactly what kind of Nicolas Cage are we getting here in this movie.
Yeah.
Whenever I say something like that, I always think back. There's an episode of Community where they are taking a film class and studying like the works of Nick Cage, and they have to come up with this like dissertation on like the theory of Nick Cage, and like what you get. And Abed he goes full Nick Cage, and that like his mind goes crazy. He becomes Nick Cage in this. It's wild. It's a great one. So yeah, good stuff with that. But that is what we are up to this next week. So be on the lookout for that. Get excited for a cage match. But yeah, that about wraps us up for season 3 of The Good Place. So Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at WilkyWit. That's WILKYWIT. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities.
There you go. You guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer. And if you would like to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. So please go like, share, and subscribe. That would help us out a ton. If you're watching this on YouTube, we got plenty more videos for you to check out right over there on that side of the screen. So yeah, go do all that stuff. That would help us out a bunch. This has been number 259, I believe, of the Whatnauts review show. And we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.